I just have hair that seems to always be like rubbing on my head or eye or out of place, but there's nothing I can do about it. Just, it's okay when the leaves fall.
Yeah.
That's the title of our lesson today. It's okay when the leaves fall. And I went back and I was going to do one on that I did last year, and the changing of the seasons. You know, so this is kind of along that lines. I very seldom will reteach a Sunday school lesson that I pull out, and not that I think that there's anything wrong with that. I just feel like the Lord leads me in a little bit different direction. So that's what happened with this one today. So fall time is my favorite. I don't know about you, but it's my favorite season of the year. Jen, what's yours?
Summer.
Oh, see, but summer can get so hot sometimes. Then
I love the heat though.
yeah, do you?
Because you don't. It just. I don't know. It's wonderful. All the
And then
flowers are blooming. It's just.
Winter's so cold, and I like spring. Spring would be my second one, but spring can be very muddy and lots of rain. Whereas I just feel like fall is sweater and jacket weather, not too cold, not too hot. I really enjoy it. And then I love all the beautiful mums and pumpkins and all that stuff. You know, when I saw white pumpkins, I love white pumpkins. Not a traditional one, but I love the white pumpkins, you know, and I like checkered pumpkins too. But so anyway, it's if you go on
So pretty.
10, County Road 10, and before you go to 33, and there's a hill, and it's kind of winding in a spot right there. When the leaves turn on that spot, it is gorgeous. I mean, I just want to park the car and just sit and look, because it is so beautiful. I mean, we are seeing the leaves change right now. It is so beautiful. But in just a little bit, it's going to be just gorgeous. You know, as we drive down there and just look around, it's like God just painted. And it's vibrant oranges and yellows and reds. And, you know, it was green, and that was beautiful. But there's just something about those fall colors that I just really love. And God has really gifted us with so much beauty. And that's something I was thinking about. So we don't look at that stuff like a gift, like we should. That's a gift from God, you know, that He gives us that to enjoy. But we have to stop in our busyness and enjoy it, and say, thank you, Father, for, you know, thank you for the beauty of it.
Kind of like that one lesson you did, tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we just.
We get busy in our lives and just going, and we don't see anything. And there's so much sometimes to see, you know. So after a few weeks of the leaves being a beautiful color and just enjoying it in that drive, all of a sudden I'll drive down that same spot, down 10, and the leaves will be falling off the tree. And then all of a sudden it starts to look barren. Then the next time I come through, maybe a week later, then it's so much of that, all that beauty has just, it's fallen. It's fallen, and it doesn't look anything like it did, you know. And it's just like, oh, well, you know, and that we begin to witness the falling of the leaves. And as much as I look forward to the leaves changing and seeing, you know, pretty soon, because I'm enjoying it now, but pretty soon it's just going to be, you know, it's just going to be just gorgeous. And as much as I love that, there's nothing I can do about the falling of the leaves after it. That's gonna come, you know. It's inevitable. It's actually the way things are supposed to be. That's the way God designed it. Enjoy the beauty, Julie, and then accept the falling of the leaves. It's a cycle.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that we would have different seasons in heaven too, or no?
I don't know.
I just wonder about that. You said that.
I don't know. Something tells me there will always be sunshine. SONSHINE. There'll always be sunshine. But as far as temperature and all that, Jen, I don't know. But you know, whatever it is we're gonna love it. It's just gonna be wonderful, you know. So maybe it'll be just a cool. My husband loves it cool in the house. I love it warm. It is like a battle in that apartment. And that apartment, you can go one room and be cold. You know, I have guests in the second bedroom, they're shivering in there. And, you know, in the other part of the apartment, we're like, oh, it's warm, you know, because I've turned it up because I know it gets cold in there. But anyway, that's mine and Pastor's battle is he's always, Julie, you're killing me with this. And I'm like, I'm cold, I ache, I'm old. So anyway.
If I may.
Yes.
You enjoy the colors.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. Fall's
I
my favorite.
love it.
And then the leaves fall. But that's not the end of the gift, because then you've got the cold, crisp air, the cool, crisp air.
Mm-hmm.
You take walks.
Yep.
And you crunch through those leaves. And that's the gift right there, too.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it doesn't stop with the falling of the leaves.
No, it doesn't, but it does kind of change things from my beautiful scenery,
Yes.
and it's just like, oh, this is just gorgeous too. Oh, what happened to all the colors? They're on the ground and now they're turning, crispy and crunchy and no more color. So I understand what you're saying, but yeah, and so it's exactly the way God made it to be, and that's what we always have to remember. It can't be helped. We can't do anything to change it. It does usher in a whole new season, and that's a beautiful thing too. I once heard a pastor say that 99% of our issues are perspective issues. Our perspective on things is wrong, and I have really found that to be true. So we watched this show about a young girl she had some terminal disease, and she was going blind, and I think maybe she was like 11 or something like that, 11 or 12, going blind, but also her system was shutting down, and it was a terminal illness. And so they were trying to fill those few years with as much things as she loved that they could. And one of the things is that she became a cheerleader. She liked to, she'd always wanted to cheer. And, at one point she was in the wheelchair, just waving a pom-pom. But right before that, they were having a group cheerleading meeting. And, the girls were just talking about, the coach said, why is everybody late all the time? What's going on in your lives that everybody's late? We got to stop this. And one girl said, well, you don't know what I'm going through. So the coach said, well, let's just stop right here then. And everybody tell me what's been going on in your life that's causing this. What are your challenges? And that was the phrase she used, what are your challenges? So all these girls, they had all these different challenges. And then they got to this little girl that was terminal. And they said, well, what's your challenge? What are some of the challenges that you live with? And they're thinking, we know some of them, and she said, none. And the coach said to everybody, I don't think she understands the question. And then she said her name again. She goes, what are the challenges you face? And she said, I don't face any challenges. And, I have none. And so it was a matter of perspective, and it really was like a brick wall. Those kids and the coach hitting a brick wall going, what on earth are we looking at these things in our life as challenges? She just said she has none. And she was, her vision was almost gone. She could hardly move around by herself. And so we have to remember that a lot of things in our life, most things, it's a matter of perspective on how we view it. Just like, like I may see, okay, oh, where'd all my beautiful colored leaves go? But Tiff, she looks at it like, yeah, this is, now this is a new part. And I still am not totally with that, but that's okay.
All right.
That's a great,
Take a walk in the woods, it'll change
that's a
it.
great perspective. And so, but the falling of the leaves, it's the way God made it. We're not going to be able to change anything about it. And it's the way he created it, is that beauty is for a time. Now, granted, it does usher in a different kind of beauty, but that beauty of like, oh man, look at just God painted all these colors. That's just for a time. And we have to learn to be okay with that. Although the leaves fall and the painted treetops, they leave every single time. We understand that we'll enjoy the changing of the leaves again in another season. And that's the way I stopped and think about it. It was, okay, so I'm going to enjoy this, all these leaves changing. It's going to be so beautiful. And yes, they are going to start to fall. And when they start to fall, and I'm just like, all the beauty is kind of going on the ground now, and they're turning crumbly, I can think to myself, But you know what? I get to enjoy it again next year
Yes.
because the leaves are going to change again. It's like cycles of life, really. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about is, you know, speaking of the seasons, like actual seasons, you know, I have to be okay with it because, you know, some people hate winter. Well, winter's still going to come.
Yep.
I don't love winter, I just don't, but it's still gonna come. So I guess it's changing that matter of perspective a little bit, like, well, I guess I could wear some cool sweaters, you know, some warm, snuggly sweaters, and I do get to drink the cocoa and that kind of stuff, and just kind of changing it, because nothing I'm gonna do is gonna change that winter's coming.
Yeah.
And that those cold temperatures are coming. I saw Donna come in her nice warm jacket today. I'm like, yeah, winter's here. Winter's on its way, you know. And my perspective wasn't so great. And, you know, it really is a matter of perspective. You know, this is such a beautiful example of the mountains and the valleys in our life. And we talk about that often. But that's because this is what we go through. You know, we go through mountaintops and valleys, and that's what comprises our lives, and of course the in-between parts. But for us to think our life is always going to be just like this, well, the seasons aren't either. They change, you know, and you may go to some place where it doesn't change quite as drastically, but it still changes. You know, the people in Florida, they still have a time where it gets hotter, or, you know, or it's a little bit cooler, that kind of thing. You know, but as a Christian, our life is full of mountains and valleys, and we often refer to those as seasons of life. And some seasons in our life are short, some are long, some we wish were shorter, some we wish were longer, some are great and some are not so great. But they're all part of our life. And we're going to turn in our Bible to Ecclesiastes 3:1. I have it there, but I like us to turn in our Bible. And actually, I'm going to read that chapter 3, 1 to 11. To everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven. To get that, to everything there is a season, our seasons of life. Verse 2, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. It's farming time right now, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Verse 3, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Verse 9, what profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboureth? I have seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. Verse 11, he hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set the world in their hearts, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. I think that's so beautiful. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. You know, and just as the season, the fall season, that's a complex. It's not just, oh, beautiful. No, because part of that fall season is when the leaves are falling, they get crunchy and they lose the color. You know, so it's kind of twofold. It's complex. It has some good and it has some, you know, to some of us not so great. You know, and that's how the seasons in our life, they can be complex as well. You know, when we talked about the seasons of change last year, we talked about maybe the new mom season, you know, when you become a mom and have children, and that time of life when the kids are small, you know, and there's so many good things. Oh my goodness, you know, picturing the little fingers underneath the door, I can remember that. But also, you know, I can remember some things when, in that season, when the leaves were falling. And it just wasn't that beautiful, vibrant color of special times was kind of over at the time. It wasn't good. You know, there's just some things, you know, I can remember in the season of life of child rearing a couple times with Brother Devin that I thought, Lord, what are we going to do with this kid? What are we going to do with him? And now I can look back and chuckle, but at the time it was very big. The leaves were falling, you know, and I just, you know, and if I could go back and tell myself stuff, have you ever thought of, you know, or seen something that says, what would you tell yourself back then? You know, and I would tell myself back then, that time frame when we were going through that with Devin, I would tell him, it's just a phase. He's going to come through it. Just keep praying through. And at the time, it was just like, the leaves are falling, and I hate this. I hate these falling leaves. And that's exactly what I'm trying to get across today, is that there needs to be less of the I hate the leaves falling, and more of, okay, I'm okay with that. Seasons change. Doesn't mean you have to like whatever is going on. Like, I would not want to go through it again.
Right.
But how we handle things, in part, is how that is a result of how our perspective on it, you know.
I
Go ahead,
also
Jen.
think that when you go, I have never had any kids, but just different things I went through has allowed me to help somebody else that's going through the same thing.
So there's a matter of perspective coming in, you know. And what Tiff said was really a good lesson about the leaves falling. To me, it's, you know, not my favorite, but to her, she really enjoys that. So we have got to learn as Christian ladies to change our perspective on things and look at things differently. It will affect the way we handle it. In essence, we do. We really need to be okay with the leaves falling and be like, you know what? It's great. And there's a verse, and I meant to look it up, the reference. Joy comes in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that is important. I would tell myself that in those times that I've had over the years, it's okay. Joy comes in the morning. It's okay. You know, when you're going through it, when the leaves are falling and it's not a comfortable stage of the season, you know, my first inclination is just shut down. Just shut down. And that's because my perspective isn't where it should be, you know. And we have to remember, you know, that God's timing is always right, and it's always beautiful. And that was in Ecclesiastes 3, verse 11. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. What doesn't look like good timing to me is Father filtered. And so many times I've gone back to that lesson about how everything is Father filtered. He sees things through the God glasses. I don't have those, you know. I can try, but I don't have those. And, you know, God's ways aren't our ways, and his thoughts aren't our thoughts. And so it really becomes a matter of trusting God and saying, okay, I know these seasons of life, this is for a season. And this part of it was good, but God, I'm really struggling right now with the leaves falling. I really am. And, you know, just stopping. And sometimes part of the battle, part of the victory of the battle is recognizing things, recognizing and stopping ourselves during the hard time or the time when the leaves are falling and say, okay, just stop, just stop. The leaves were so beautiful right there, but I'm really struggling with them falling. Right now, I'm really struggling. And recognizing that we need help going through this part of the season, and calling on God and saying, God, I am struggling, and trusting him for his outcome, and understanding that everything's beautiful in his time, and that everything, verse 1 says, to everything there is a season. And seasons do what? They change. Okay? So it's not going to be forever. There are good parts of the season and there are bad. There what may be seemingly bad. And we need to know. God knows when the leaves in our life should be vibrant. He knows those times, where he gives us that gift. But God also knows the times in our life when it's time for the leaves to fall. And he's going to do a work through the falling of the leaves.
That verse that you was wanting is Psalms chapter 30,
Psalm 30,
verse 5.
verse 5. That's Psalms 30, verse 5, about joy coming in the morning. Can you read it, Donna?
For his anger endureth but a moment, and his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning.
I would tell myself back and it wasn't just, a hard time with Brother Devin. There are other areas in my life, where it was a season of life, maybe the early years of our marriage. That was a season, and it really seemed that the leaves fell very quickly. The vibrant colors disappeared, and those leaves started falling in that season of my life. I feel like that one was really, falling of the leaves really overshadowed any vibrant colors. But it was for a season, and the season did change. And part of that season changing had to do with me, okay? And that's important too. God's in control of all, but God has given us tools to change things in our life. We are not helpless in that way.
Right.
Now, there are some things we have absolutely no control of, but then there are other things like my bad marriage that I could change, I could help change, and it was because I looked to the one who could help me change, and that was God. And once that clicked, and we got some understanding there, like, we're not going to make this work. It's going to be over. And we said, God, we need help. And then God allowed me to make the changes, gave me what I need to make changes. And, so seasons of our life. And then, the next season was as we raised our kids. And that was a season, and that was full of vibrant colors, but it also had falling of leaves. And I feel like in 18, 20 years, that one kind of recycled itself several times, but I would go back and tell myself, it's okay. It's just for a season. You know what? And yes, the leaves are falling right now, but those leaves are going to change again. The colors are going to be beautiful. God makes everything beautiful in his time. It's just so easy. Hindsight is so much clearer, isn't it, than
I heard a saying the other day, it was in a song, I think. I wished I knew back then what I know now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And some of that's maturity, some of that's what experience teaches us, all those things. But just learning to be okay. I do watch a lot of ladies totally stress themselves out by not being okay with the changing of the leaves, okay? Life is not always going to be what we want it to be. It's not going to always seem good. It's not going to always seem lovely to us. There are going to be times where it's uncomfortable, where it hurts, where, but that is just, we have to learn to stop fighting some of these things, some of the seas, some of the leaves falling. We have to quit fighting it and just be, okay, God, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you in this. It doesn't look great to me. It's certainly not comfortable. And I really loved it back then when I was looking at the leaves going, oh, this is gorgeous. And it doesn't feel so good to me now. I need help. You know, I think God really likes it when we go to him and say that and say, I can't do this. I need you to guide me. But then I think sometimes he starts guiding and then all of a sudden he's like, where'd you go? You know, because things get a little bit good and we just think we're doing great and we turn away from him again and try to do it again on our own, like this vicious cycle, you know? And we have to be okay with it. Okay, I'm struggling right now. And you know what? We're humans. We are going to struggle. Do not believe social media with people on there where it's all good. I'm just not a social media fan because I think it's very deceiving. I think Satan has really used it. And I just think we have to be really careful about what we believe to be true. Everybody puts their best foot forward, you know, and we have to understand that in those posts, that's the most, you know. But then again, I'm not always for the ones that, and I heard some, yeah, I heard some preaching recently where the preacher was like, why on earth would you take a picture of you reading your Bible and post it? Why would you do that? That is a quiet time with God, you know, and it's just like we do things for show, okay? God already sees us reading our Bible. Why are we posting it? Because everybody wants to put their best foot forward, okay? And not really that I want to see you having the fight with your spouse or something like that, but I just think social media can be so deceiving, you know, and we can walk away from social media not even understanding it, but feeling badly or like what we have isn't great, you know, like our marriage isn't great, those kind of things. And that's very unhealthy. If you stop and evaluate after you get done a session on social media, go sit down somewhere and quietly evaluate how that all made you feel. And usually it's not good, you know, just saying. So God knows that the leaves in our life should be vibrant, and he knows when we need the falling of the leaves times. I think, again, being okay with the falling of the leaves is trusting God and accepting that God knows best. He allows them both, and we do need to trust him through it all. He's the gift giver. He's the gift giver when those leaves are just absolutely stunning and gorgeous, and we're like, you know. But he is also the protector. He's there for us when it's time for the leaves to fall. And I believe the Lord puts things in our life sometimes, the falling of the leaves, just to see if we're going to turn to him. Okay? Let's go to Isaiah 43:2. Goodness. It's taking me forever to get there. I'm sorry, guys. This is a beautiful verse. You know what? If I were you, I would highlight it now, and I would write it on a sticky note when you get home. Write it several times on sticky notes, and then put it around your house, because it is a wonderful verse. Let's see here. Tiff, will you read that?
Yes, I will. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee.
Go ahead and read 3.
For I am the Lord thy God, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior. I gave Egypt for thy ransom, Ethiopia and Seba for thee.
Verse 4.
Since thou wast precious in my sight, thou hast been honorable, and I have loved thee. Therefore will I give men for thee, and people for thy life.
Verse 5.
Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east, and gather thee from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth, even every one that is called by my name. For I have created him for my glory. I have formed him. Yea, I have made him.
Thank you. Wow.
Rob, you just like
I'm just
love
like,
today.
whoo. Man, that last part too. Even every one that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him. Yea, I have made him. Wow. Here is our Creator talking. We can trust him. We can trust him. We can trust that he's going to protect us. That verse said, when thou passest through the waters, I'll be with thee. When thou, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. You ever feel like sometimes when the leaves are falling that you're drowning and you just can't understand how you're going to make it through that time? Right here. This tells us God is with us, and he's not going to let the waters overwhelm us, and he's not going to let them overflow us. And when we walk through the fire and the trials of life, it's not going to consume us. Thou shalt not be burned. Thou shalt not be burned. And what does that make me think about? It makes me think of the three Hebrews, in the fire, walking around like nothing's going on. That's what God does for his children. Not to say we're never going to hurt. Those leaves do fall. But we got to be okay with it in the sense that we can give it to God. And when we were created for his glory, that is a beautiful, beautiful passage. And then back to Ecclesiastes 1, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heavens. Don't hate the falling of the leaves. Don't hate the hard times. God uses these in our life. You know, I can think of a very hard time that Pastor and I had in our life, but he's used it. I can look back and see, and it was my own fault, mine and Pastor's own fault, that the leaves fell then, but I can see how God made something beautiful out of it because we allowed him to. Seasons change. If you're going through a falling of the leaves now, then take heart, because joy comes in the morning. We may weep through the night. My husband's always telling me, it's okay to cry, Julie. I don't know, I'm not.
I'm a crier.
I'm a crier, but I'm not. You know, like I can tear up at a passage and even cry sometimes, but I'm just like, he's like, let's watch something sad. What are you?
Oh, I love to
What
cry.
are you talking about?
Yeah.
See, and
do.
he's wired that way too, and I'm like,
"Hey."
that makes no sense to me. I'm like, there's enough problems in life to cry about. I don't, you know, he's like, no, sometimes it's just really good to
So
watch
let
something
it out.
sad. There's some movie about a dog dying that he,
Oh, no.
and I'm just like, I can't spend my tears on it, you know? So, but just understand, if you're going through the vibrant colors of life in your season, that's wonderful. Enjoy every second of it, but don't dread the coming of the falling of the leaves. And then once the falling of the leaves comes, be okay with it and know that God is in control. We're his creation. He loves us. He is our Heavenly Father. He loves us. He wants the best for us. The falling of the leaves is going to be okay. And joy will come in the morning.
I was going to say one quick thing though, like times that the falling of the leaves season in my life, I've learned the most.
It's so
Sometimes when
true.
you're on the mountaintop, you're like, this is awesome.
The view, I
Then,
can
like,
sit back and
yeah,
relax
you
and
get up
just
and you're
look at the
like,
view.
Lord, he's like, yeah, but you need to learn this right here.
Then we have to
Yeah.
go through the valleys to enjoy the high time.
Yeah,
Right.
so true. All right, well, we're going to go offline. Thank you to our online friends.